This is the sound, this is the sound of the suburbs, yeah. This is the sound of the suburbs. This is the sound of the
air. Tonight's star prize, the Glue Men. Another, this is how I shall die, incidentally, is doing this, driving along at night, holding the cassette up to try and read the name of the band by the headlights of the car behind me, slap into the back of a lorry, and then people will say, you would have wanted to go this way. They'll be quite wrong. Of course, it's tapes like this, they actually do kind of fire interest, because the people who made it sound, frankly, unbalanced. We need more of that. Most of the music I like sounds pretty unbalanced, and that's what I'm going to be looking for in Cornwall, a county about as far away from the music industry as it's possible to get, in England anyway, and therefore particularly blessed. My memories of the one summer we spent in Cornwall are of a picture postcard world of sea and sunshine and outrageous tackles from behind from my dad as we played football on the beach. But when the armies of tourists retreat, Cornwall reveals itself to be the most impoverished county in Britain. Far away from the coast and bypassed by visitors, towns like Redruth and Camborne are isolated and economically destitute. In a county which relies on 6 frenzied weeks of tourism a year, they have nothing. Here, there is high unemployment and few opportunities for young people.
Hi, and thanks to all of you.
It was in Redruth that 2 of Cornwall's top toe tappers grew up. Richard D. James, otherwise known as Aphex Twin, and Luke Vibert.
Hi.
This isn't at all what I hadn't really imagined anything, but... So what's that bit there?
That's where you put the decks.
This is Gwynedd Pit. In 1773, John Wesley, the father of Methodism, preached here to a congregation of 30,000. Wesley was the Aphex Twin of the 18th century. Discuss. Anti-establishment and radical, he also produced some excellent music, although it was hymns in his case, of course. Richard hasn't been back to Cornwall for 5 years.
I love it down here. It's so peaceful, but I know that after a while that wears a bit thin and you just get really bored and want to go and buy some records and go out and stuff.
Yes, I can understand the wanting to buy a record.
I did work in a record shop for about 3 years. I was a real fan of music, and just to be a bit bumlicky, I think your show definitely inspired me as well in lots of ways. Just the different sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds like a village around here, actually. I think we drove through Bumlicky earlier.
But we all used to tape it, I think, me and all my mates.
Yeah, so
even though it was illegal, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Tape it.
We'll sort that out later on. How did you start doing what you do here, if you see what I mean? I mean, what was it that was going on locally that inspired you to take up?
Nothing, basically. That's what made me do music, I reckon. Just because there was nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some music scene, but it's nothing that I was interested in. But it's just out of boredom, really, which is the best way to do music, I think, when you've got nothing else to do.
If it was boredom that made the Aphex Twin creative, he must have been a spectacularly bored guy. Despite his maverick status within the music industry, his record sales in the UK have nearly hit the 500,000 mark, and he's shifting units in America and Japan as well. Cornwall's musicians rarely get a hearing nationally, so the Aphex Twin's success, together with the Reflex label he's set up, has inspired a new generation. You hadn't got into music, what would you have done?
Well, my dad's a miner. I did a bit of work in the mines as well when I was when I was about 17 or something. That's where I got my first money to get my first equipment, really. So it sort of helped me out for music.
What was that? What was it like?
It was so hot. It's really, really hot underground, and all the miners just walk around with like either pants on or just their belts and nothing else. They're just walking around in a nude, like really hard,
strangely
Cornish
primitive.
miners. Yeah, with sort of, you know, shovels and stuff. I was well spun out.
The mine that Richard used to work in has long closed, but the evidence that Cornwall was once the centre of world tin production is everywhere you look. Hundreds of these chimneys once poured smoke over a heavily industrialised landscape. Paul Hodge, a Cornish poet, is taking me to see a relic of this past greatness, a mine stack that housed one of the largest steam pumping engines in the world.
Touch me tight trousers. This just anchors the engine, right?
The cylinder would actually sit on these bedding blocks here. And you can see they're absolutely massive.
Certainly are, yeah.
You would have had 3 floors. On the top floor, you would have had a giant beam or bulb, which would have pivoted on the 2 bearings at the top. This is a pumping engine. The smaller one through the window there is actually the WIM engine, which was used for winding stuff up and down the shaft.
God, there's stacks of them out there, aren't there?
Stacks of stacks.
Stacks of stacks.
This is all part of the Great Flat Load.
It's not your standard industrial landscape, is it, by any means?
No, and we're only, it's just, you know, to use a cliche, it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All the real stuff is actually underground.
Paul has written a poem about this place in his native Cornish. It's a language that died out 100 years ago, but it's been revived in much the same way as I'm currently reviving East Anglian. Pith Gelkneen, as we say in Stowmarket.
Hedys yw yn balio, na moiddo berry, heddiw diffethtir, maithra fleihas gwari. Peneglos yn stenecos da in misgaethin, penfenton nag yn greith, muraz rago meithrin.
Quite moving, quite moving. Mm-hmm. Is it specifically about this one place?
Specifically about this one stack, Peneglos and Stenec, Cathedral of the Tin Ground, because this is the Great Flat Road, and these buildings are a bit like churches.
They're very like churches, yeah.
And the one we're in now is so fine it's really a cathedral.
At the height of tin production, 30,000 Cornishmen worked underground. Now there's not one. This year saw the last working mine in Cornwall close down. Camborne was once, thanks to mining, the richest town in Britain. Today, it's one of the poorest. Paul took me to pay homage to one of his heroes, Richard Trevithick, arguably the pioneer of steam locomotion.
The trouble is we have this nonsense.
Go on then. Right, yeah.
Stevenson, who basically won a competition with 5 or 6 other people. This bloke invented the steam engine. Put it on wheels. He invented.
Again, is this a generally held view or just a Cornishman's view?
No.
I noticed that Trevithick dressed to the left, if this statue is to be believed.
Well, yes. I think that may be a bit of artistic interpretation, but there he is.
Mick Jagger amongst engineers. It's just a sock, don't worry.
Trevithick's manly profile and sturdy parts made me feel rather inadequate, and I decided to cheer myself up with a pint. At the pub, I met Helen Whitthread, who sings with the band In Watermelon Sugar.
Will end! The end of the world is nigh! It's nigh!
In Watermelon Sugar haven't got a record deal, but they've got a strong local following and are determined to keep Cornwall as a base, even if they do get some sort of break.
Taking me deep into the stillness of the night where I am beyond redemption. There are some things outside, and the noise from the outside is suddenly inside, and I cannot hear the talking between Granger and Beaker. Doesn't matter where Granger's taking me. Our plans do not matter.
So what's it like getting gigs around here then?
Very well. It's got easier. I mean, there is a gig circuit. There's a lot of live music. There are clubs, but the pubs are brilliant for live music. And we work about 3 nights a week. The only thing that is a disadvantage down here is that because there's very much a holiday trade, and you know, like summertime, you've got shitloads of money. You're going out there, you're partying, everybody's having a great time. Winter comes, like September, and you can feel the blues creeping in already. And there's like this October depression that like comes down on everybody when the money stops coming in and the sun goes out, and you know, and suddenly like everybody goes home and you're left with the same group of people that you're going to see every day, and you can walk your dog along the beach and like you might see one other person, and it closes in.
I would rather like that, but I can understand that if you haven't got any money at the same time, then it's not so much fun.
No, it's up to you very much to amuse yourself. I think you've got to be quite a strong, self-sufficient person creatively.
Cornwall's flourishing live music scene owes a lot to bands like In Watermelon Sugar. Playing night after night on the pub gig circuit, they keep the audiences rolling in.